Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Connecticut Department of Transportation and the town of Granby, I would like to welcome you all for attending this public informational meeting for State Project number 55-144, rehabilitation of bridge number 04528, located on Moosehorn Road over Moosehorn Brook in the town of Granby. My name is Preeti Bardwaj, and I am the project manager assigned to this project. We appreciate your willingness to participate in this forum virtually, and we ask that you bear with us tonight, as this is the first public informational meeting our team is doing on this virtual forum. I will now explain how you will be able to interact with the project team. There are three means of how you will be able to communicate. By email, which is dotproject0055-0144@ct.gov. I will also repeat this and spell it out. It's dotproject 0055-0144@ct.gov. You can also call in by telephone. The number is area code 860-944-1111. Again, that number is area code 860-944-1111. Or you can also communicate by chat on the MS Teams live event chat. In this format, you can ask a question by clicking on the little question mark, which shows Q&A, and this will bring up your live event Q&A field. Select the Ask a Question button at the bottom right screen, and a field will pop up. And you can type your question and hit either Enter with a little arrow button to send. You can also check the box on the bottom to post your question anonymously if you prefer. There will be a slight delay, but eventually your question will appear in the featured section with all other questions that are asked tonight. The project email, phone, and chat will be screened by the project team during the Q&A session, and the questions asked by any of these methods will be posted to the MS Teams Q&A chat window. The questions will be asked out loud for the project team to answer. You can ask questions at any time during the presentation, but we will answer these questions during the live Q&A session that follows. We also have the project webpage link, where the recording of tonight's entire presentation, including the Q&A session, will be stored. The web page will also contain the same information that I have previously explained on how to provide comments and ask questions. And that project web page is portal.ct.gov/dot Granby 55-144. And I will spell that out and repeat it again. It's portal.ct.gov/dot Granby 55-144. Lastly, please remember that the comment period to ask questions or provide comments will be open through September 24th, 2020 via either email or telephone. So if you think of a question after tonight's meeting or want to expand on a question asked tonight, you will have until September 24th to do so. The MS Teams chat function is only available during tonight's live Q&A session.
We would greatly appreciate it if you could fill out the demographic survey the department has through SurveyMonkey. This is only the 4th or 5th virtual public informational meeting that the department has hosted, and for our project team, this is our first. This survey will help the department improve these public meetings going forward. There's also a civil rights flyer available. Both the links to the survey and the civil rights flyer are located on the previously mentioned project webpage. And lastly, I am required to read the following statement as part of the Title VI Civil Rights Act. That is, that no person shall, on the basis of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation or subject to discrimination in the development of this project.
I would like to now go over some of the goals and format for tonight's meeting. I will be explaining how this project is funded in the Federal Local Bridge DMS, or Design Managed by the State program. We will have some welcoming remarks from Mr. Kirk Severance, Public Works Director from the town of Granby, and he will also be joining us in answering any questions that you may have during the Q&A session. I will be introducing the project team. That includes the department's front office leadership, the department's design team, and our consultant liaison engineer team. This will be followed with a technical presentation of the design, which will include the condition of the existing structure, the purpose and need for the project, and the recommended design solution, which has progressed to a 30% design completion. As part of the department's public outreach program, it is at this point that we are now reaching out to you, the public, while it is still early in the design process, to receive any comments or concerns and answer any questions that you may have. We will also have a DOT representative to explain the rights-of-way process. And lastly, we will have a live question and answer session that follows the technical portion of the presentation. I would now like to explain how this project is being funded. This bridge is a town-owned bridge and is being funded under the department's Federal Local Bridge program. Traditionally in this program, the town selects a designer, and because federal funds are involved, the department provides administrative oversight because the department is considered to be stewards of those federal funds. The funding is traditionally 80% federal and 20% town for the design, rights-of-way, and construction phases of the project. However, this project is going to be funded under the department's newly launched DMS, or Design Managed by the State program. In this program, it will be the department who will be performing the design on behalf of the municipality, utilizing our consultant liaison engineers, who are Clough Harbor Associates, or CHA, on this project. CHA has completed the 30% preliminary design, and it will be brought to final design completion by one of our pre-selected task-based designers. In addition, the design phase only will now be funded with 80% federal and 20% state funds, so the entire design phase is at zero cost to the town of Granby. Although the 30% preliminary design was performed by the department, it was in full partnership and coordination with the town of Granby. We held several meetings with the town and diligently worked together to incorporate most of the town's comments and concerns. And now we are reaching out to you, the community, to also weigh in. The initiative behind the DMS program was to expedite design delivery for municipal projects. The DMS program uses a streamlined design approach where we are able to utilize full departmental resources and are able to internally perform design tasks concurrently rather than linearly. In this program,
we are able to cut down the typical design time by a half and bring these projects to construction quicker, which is enabling the department's goal to keep our town bridges in a perennial state of good repair. Also, the department is able to offer expertise on accelerated bridge construction techniques, or ABC, which are routinely used on state projects, and that knowledge now will also be available for town projects. ABC techniques are also being employed on the Moosehorn Road Bridge. The department is pleased to be able to offer this program to the town of Granby. The DMS program is spending your municipal and state tax dollars efficiently and effectively, and at the same time fostering great working relationships with our municipal partners. And with that, I'll now hand it over to the town of Granby.
Thank you, Preeti. For those of you that do not know me, my name is Kirk Severance, and I am the Public Works Director for the town of Granby. The Connecticut DOT performs safety inspections for all bridges over 20 feet in length at 2-year intervals. The Moosehorn Road Bridge was flagged as one of those bridges in town needing repair. We knew that the bridge needed to be rehabilitated, and we were looking for the most efficient way to proceed and stay within the guidelines of the allocated bond money. Traditionally, the town would have selected and hired a consultant to develop the design and would have been responsible for navigating through the design process, with the town covering 20% of the design costs. As Preeti mentioned, the Department of Transportation offered the DMS program to the town. We felt that it was a win-win solution for the town since the state pre-selected consultants and would have better knowledge with the design process, resulting in both an early completion of the design and construction, and not to mention the cost savings. We started meeting with the state in July of 2019 and get an understanding of how the program worked and how it may benefit the town. After several more meetings with the state, the town recognized that this program would be a good joint effort and agreed to go forward with it. While the design efforts have been led by the state, they have kept us in the loop on all aspects of the project, including providing us with various technical alternatives, their pros and cons and recommendations. They have also informed us that it is the town that will be making the final decision on all aspects. This process has gone really well, and the town thanks the department for truly partnering with us on fixing the town's infrastructure. Thank you.
I would now like to introduce the project team. I am Preeti Bardwaj, the project manager, shown in the center. To my left are the department's leadership, which includes Mr. Bart Sweeney, Division Chief, and Mr. Robbie Barakat, Principal Engineer. To my right are Mr. James Barrows, Project Engineer, and Mr. Dennis McDonald from the department's Office of Rights of Way. The consultant liaison engineers who have brought this project to 30% design completion are Clough Harbor Associates, and from CHA, we have Mr. Anand Shazadri, Project Manager, and Ms. Tracy Brace, Senior Engineer.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we are finally ready to present our technical portion of the presentation, and you will be hearing a lot of bridge lingo throughout the presentation. Therefore, I am about to give you a 2-minute crash course on some of the structural elements on a bridge and the numerical condition rating system assigned on a bridge. On the diagram shown, the deck is the riding surface of a bridge. The parapets, or sometimes bridges can also have an open rail system, helps prevent errant vehicles from going off the bridge. The beams, or the girders, are the supporting structural elements on a bridge and are designed to support vehicular loads, the self-weight of the bridge, and any environmental loads such as wind or seismic, etc. The parapets, the deck, and the beams are what makes up the superstructure on a bridge. The abutments and the wing walls are the end supports on a bridge, and the piers, if there are any, are the intermediate supports. The abutments, wing walls, and piers make up what is known as the substructure of a bridge. The substructure not only supports the superstructure, but also helps in transmitting loads from the superstructure down to the bridge foundations. All state bridges and town bridges over 20 feet in length are inspected every 2 years by the department's Bridge Safety and Evaluation Unit and are assigned a condition rating on the major elements on a scale of 1 through 9, with 9 being excellent condition and 1 being imminent failure condition. When a major bridge element reaches a 4 or poor condition, that is when we start to initiate a project to address these structural deficiencies. Now that you are armed with basic bridge knowledge, I would now like to introduce Ms. Tracy Brace, Senior Design Engineer at CHA, who will be presenting the technical portion of the presentation.
Thank you, Pretty. Good evening, everyone. I will be going over the existing bridge conditions and deficiencies and describing what is proposed to fix the deficiencies as part of this project. To provide a quick overview of the project site, Moosehorn Road is classified as a rural local road and is located off of Route 20. Moosehorn Road is a dead-end road with Moosehorn Hill Road spurring off of the cul-de-sac to the north. The bridge carries Moosehorn Road over Moosehorn Brook, which generally flows from north to south into the west branch of the Salmon Brook. The bridge is the only means of ingress and egress for about 18 households. The bridge was built in 1956, and it appears that a bridge rehabilitation was performed at some point after 1956 based on the presence of steel repair plates welded to the girders and bituminous concrete overlay that may have been replaced or been installed over the original timber wearing surface. The bridge has a curb-to-curb width of 16 feet 9 inches and carries 1 lane of traffic in the eastbound direction and 1 lane of traffic in the westbound direction. Approximately 32 vehicles travel across the bridge each day. Something else to note, there are also overhead utilities located just north of the bridge. The bridge superstructure consists of 7 steel-rolled beams that support a timber deck that is topped with a bituminous concrete wearing surface. There are timber bridge rails along both sides of the bridge, and there are slots in the bottom timber rail that allow for drainage to flow off the bridge roadway into the brook. The bridge superstructure, shown here, is supported by reinforced concrete abutments, here and here, that are founded on spread footings on soil. Riprap is placed in front of both abutments. There are no wing walls or retaining walls present to contain the approach roadway, so there are steep approach embankments at the 4 corners of the bridge. Bridges slope down from west to east as shown in this elevation view, with a low bottom of girder or low chord elevation of 678.1 feet at the east abutment. In its existing condition, there is not enough underclearance between the bottom of girder and water surface during a 50-year and 100-year storm event. As you can see here, the 100-year water surface elevation is above bottom of girder elevation. It is preferred for this site that a 100-year storm be able to pass under the bridge. I think it's probably more helpful to see the actual existing bridge components and their conditions versus just looking at our sketches. So the next few slides show some general photos of the bridge. Here are the left side, we have the north elevation of the bridge, and the photo on the right shows the south elevation. These two photos show the typical condition of the top of deck. The photo on the left looking toward Higley Road and the photo on the right looking toward the cul-de-sac. These are the timber bridge rails here, and in this photo here and here. And there is metal guide rail in the approaches that leads up to the bridge rail. The overhead wires can be seen in the photo here on the upper right-hand side. As Pretty stated earlier in the presentation, bridge inspections are typically performed every 2 years, during which the condition of each bridge element is given a rating from 9 to 1. 9 meaning the element is in excellent condition, and 1 meaning that failure is imminent. From the element condition ratings, the inspectors determine overall condition ratings for the 3 bridge structural components: the deck, the superstructure, and the substructure. On the left here is a typical photo of the underside of the timber deck. Based on the latest biennial inspection performed in December 2019, the deck was rated a 7, meaning that it is in good condition. The timber bridge rails are also considered to be in good condition. However, they do not meet current safety standards. Bridge rails need to meet a minimum height for the type of roadway and need to be able to withstand crash test loads. In addition, there needs to be a positive attachment that transitions the approach rail to the bridge rail. As the photo on the right shows, the approach guide rail is currently not attached to the timber bridge rail. On this slide are some photos of the typical condition of the superstructure. The superstructure consists mainly of the steel girders and the bearings, which are these elements under the ends of the steel girders. These transfer loads from the steel girders to the abutments or the substructure, and also allow for the bridge to expand and contract with temperature. The photo on the left shows a perforation in the steel girder web. The photo on the right shows the typical condition of the steel girders, which are in poor condition with pitting loss and heavy rust on the bottom flanges and critical flexure areas. Using the measured section losses on the girders, an analysis was performed to check the load rating capacity of the bridge. The load rating analysis results led to the bridge being posted for certain truck loads, meaning that trucks greater than a certain weight are restricted from crossing the bridge. Special yearly inspections are performed on this bridge so that girder section losses can be monitored and to ensure that the bridge is still safe. These two photos show the concrete abutments, which are the substructure that support the steel beam superstructure and timber deck and transfer loads to the ground via footings. Both abutments are in good condition. The riprap in front of the abutments is also in good condition with some minor sloughing in front of the west abutment. There's no evidence of scour at the bridge, and based on scour calculations, the footings are stable for calculated scour. This slide shows the upstream and downstream channels from the bridge. As you can see, the channels are generally well vegetated and exhibit minor erosion. Based on a review of the existing site and bridge conditions, we determined that at a minimum, the deck needs to be widened. At least an 18-foot wide curb-to-curb width is needed to meet FHWA and CONDOT criteria for a 2-lane local roadway. For this site, the town of Granby wanted a 22-foot wide roadway. Also, the timber bridge rails do not meet current safety standards and need to be upgraded. The poor condition of the steel girders and reduced load capacity of the bridge need to be addressed to keep the bridge as a safe crossing. In addition, there is not enough underclearance between the steel girder bottoms and water surface in a 50-year and 100-year storm event, meaning that there's more potential for debris to hit the steel girders during a significant storm. The only component of the bridge that is in good condition and needs minimal, if any work, is the abutments. It was collectively decided among the town of Granby, ConnDOT, and CHA that the superstructure should be replaced to address the main deficiencies that I just mentioned, and that the existing abutments should be reused with extensions built to support a wider superstructure. The improvements proposed as part of the project are the replacement of the superstructure with pre-stressed concrete deck units topped by a bituminous overlay. It will look similar to the bridge shown in the photos at the right side of the slide. The new superstructure will have a wider curb-to-curb width of 22 feet. Again, it was the town's decision to have a 22-foot wide roadway to provide more room for cars and trucks traveling on Moosehorn Road. New crash-tested bridge and approach rail systems will be installed. To support the wider superstructure, extensions to the abutments and new wing walls will be constructed. The hydraulics will be improved by raising the new superstructure low chord and roadway profile slightly so that both 50-year and 100-year storm events can pass under the bridge with underclearance. Lastly, full-depth roadway reconstruction and new drainage structures are proposed in the approaches. On this slide, orange is used to show all of the new superstructure elements. The existing timber deck and steel girders shown in the existing section at the top will be replaced with 7 deck units that are topped with a bituminous concrete overlay. The existing curb-to-curb width of 16 feet 9 inches will be increased to 22 feet, and new open bridge rail will be installed. In the plan view shown at the top, gray areas represent the proposed abutment extensions and wing walls that will be built at all 4 corners. The orange represents the proposed bridge superstructure limits, and the yellow shown on either side of the bridge represents full-depth roadway reconstruction. The pink lines at all 4 corners represent the new guide rail that will be installed along the approaches. The blue here represents Moosehorn Brook, the watercourse, and the lighter blue represent the wetlands that were flagged within the project limits. The green areas represent the areas where there will be regrading and fill will be added. At the bottom of the slide, the elevation shows what the bridge will look like if looking at it from the downstream side. The bridge will still slope down from west to east, just like the existing bridge does. The low chord elevation, located at the east abutment, will be approximately 1.7 feet higher, allowing for the 50 and 100-year storms to pass under the bridge. To aid in the superstructure raising, precast elements will be anchored to the existing abutments to make the abutment seat, which is where the deck unit ends rest, here and here, higher. On the proposed roadway plan, the yellow represents the extent of the full-depth roadway reconstruction, starting about 300 feet west of the west end of the bridge and ending about 150 feet east of the east end of the bridge. New metal beam guide rail, which can withstand crash test loads, will be installed at all 4 corners of the bridge. Since the roadway width is being increased to 22 feet and the bridge is being raised slightly, new embankments to support the wider roadway will be constructed. The embankment fill limits are shown in green on the plan. The brown areas represent areas where there will be a cut excavation in the existing slope. The red lines represent the property lines. The ones that are generally parallel to the roadway, this one to the north and this one to the south, are the town right-of-way lines, and most of the work shown here is contained within the town right-of-way. This slide shows the proposed roadway profile. The orange represents the new bridge superstructure, and the yellow represents the areas where full-depth roadway reconstruction will occur. The profile will be raised about 1 foot as a result of raising the low chord of the bridge to improve the hydraulics. Based on discussions with the town staff, a few aesthetic considerations are also included in this project. An open bridge rail with duplex painting will be installed on the bridge rather than a galvanized or weathering steel rail system. The bridge rail paint system has two benefits. It is more aesthetically pleasing and also provides additional protection over galvanizing. The end blocks will be constructed with form liner concrete to give the concrete more of a stone look. 3 construction stages are proposed to complete the proposed improvements under this project. In stage 1, a 12-foot wide travel lane will be provided so that alternating one-way traffic using a stop-controlled operation can be maintained. A work zone will be established on the south side of the bridge to construct the south abutment extensions and wing walls. Once the new extensions and wing walls are complete, the overhead utilities currently along the north side of the bridge will be permanently relocated to the south side of the bridge to facilitate crane operations when placing the new deck units. Then stage 2 can begin, during which a work zone will be established on the north side of the bridge so that the north abutment extensions and wing walls can be constructed. A 12-foot wide travel lane allowing for alternating one-way traffic with a stop-controlled operation will still be provided in stage 2. During stage 2, a temporary 10-foot wide bridge and approach sidewalks will be constructed to provide a crossing for residents during the next stage, stage 3. In stage 3, a 56-hour road and bridge closure is proposed so that the existing bridge timber deck and steel girders can be removed. Precast elements can be installed to raise the abutment seats and back walls, and the new superstructure can be installed. We are proposing that the 56-hour closure occur over a weekend, starting Friday night and ending Monday morning, in order to minimize the impact to residents during the work week. A crane would likely be located on the east side of the bridge to pick the deck units from a truck and swing them into place on the precast abutment seats that will be anchored to the existing abutments. During this stage, the bridge will be closed and people will have to park their vehicles on the east side. A 10-foot wide temporary bridge will be installed to provide a crossing and will be able to support pedestrian loads, ATVs, RTVs, and golf carts only. This type of bridge is proposed instead of one that can carry vehicles because a vehicular bridge would cost more and have additional right-of-way and environmental impacts associated with it. In addition, the tight site constraints make it difficult to build approaches to the temporary bridge that are passable for cars and trucks. Considering the short duration of the closure, a temporary vehicular bridge did not seem necessary. At the end of this stage, once the new bridge is installed, there may be miscellaneous roadway work to wrap up the project that will require a shoulder or lane closure. During the 56-hour weekend closure, residents west of the bridge will be able to park their car in the proposed temporary lot that will be within town right-of-way at the intersection of Higley Road and Moosehorn Road. Considering that some of the houses on Moosehorn Hill Road are about a mile away from the bridge, a shuttle will be provided during the 56-hour weekend closure to take residents to and from the pedestrian bridge, which will be used to cross the brook to the temporary parking area. We met early on with the town's emergency management team to start discussing a plan to ensure emergency services are still available during the weekend closure. Emergency vehicles will likely be parked on the west side of the bridge. As design progresses and construction is underway, we will closely work with the emergency management team to further develop the plan for the weekend closure. In addition, the town will be organizing more meetings with residents and emergency services as design progresses to discuss ways to address everyone's concerns. As I mentioned earlier, the utility impact associated with this project is the permanent relocation of overhead wires near the bridge to the south side of Moosehorn Road. There are also environmental impacts associated with this project, including temporary and permanent watercourse and wetland impacts. The necessary environmental permit applications will be submitted for approval prior to starting construction. Permitting is a very important process in design, and we will need approval from town, state, and federal agencies. So that means everything in design gets scrutinized in an effort to minimize environmental impacts. We will also be coordinating with deep fisheries to ensure that fish passage is maintained at the site. As for right-of-way impacts associated with the project, no permanent takes will be needed to complete the work. Temporary easements will be needed on the properties at all four corners of the bridge to provide access during construction. Slope easements will likely be needed on these two properties, here and here, as our preliminary design shows the toe of roadway embankment slightly over the town right-of-way line. During design, we will evaluate further to see if the toe of the embankment can be pulled into the town right-of-way. A stone masonry wall at the southeast corner of the bridge that is within the town's right-of-way will need to be relocated in order to install the guide rail ends. Dennis McDonald from the Department's Division of Rights-of-Way will speak more to the right-of-way process in one moment after I briefly touch on the current project schedule and cost. This bridge is one of the town's priorities, and so we are working toward construction starting in spring 2022 and ending in fall 2022. Based on the preliminary cost estimate, the total project construction cost is currently estimated to be $1.76 million. Construction will be 80% federally funded and 20% town funded. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Dennis to describe the right-of-way process.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dennis McDonald, and I'm a representative from the Connecticut Department of Transportation, Division of Rights-of-Way. I'm just going to provide a brief overview of the right-of-way process. So the function of the Division of Rights-of-Way is to acquire all property and property rights necessary for the project. This is done in accordance with Connecticut General Statute Section 13A73, 13A90AE, and the Uniform Relocation Assistance and Real Property Acquisition Policies Act of 1970 as amended. Your typical right-of-way impacts include partial acquisitions, easements, and rights. Impacts are subject to change as the design progresses, but this gives a general idea of typical property impacts. Once property impacts have been established, each impacted property owner will receive a letter of intent to acquire along with a property acquisition map. The letter essentially initiates the right-of-way process, and the map provides a detailed overview of the specific right-of-way impacts. Soon after the letter is received, evaluation process will take place, and once a value has been established, each impacted property owner will receive a written offer of compensation. Property owners will be given time to consider the offer and negotiate should they wish. If an agreement is reached, an acceptance document will be signed, and a closing will take place at a later date. If an agreement is not reached for whatever reason, the state will utilize its power of eminent domain and acquire the property rights through the condemnation process. Now, I understand this has a negative connotation, but many times this is done to keep a project on schedule. If the state elects to pursue eminent domain, the original offer is deposited in the court system, and property owners can continue negotiations or file a formal appeal for a reassessment of damages through the court system. Please note all appeals must be filed within 6 months from the date in which the state files for eminent domain. And that is all I have for tonight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dennis. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes our technical portion of the presentation. I would like to thank everyone on my design team and everyone behind the scenes who helped put this live event together. We are going to leave the Q&A session information on the screen for your benefit, and we will be answering any questions that came in during the presentation and answer any questions that will come in during this live Q&A session. Once again, we would like to remind everyone to please visit the project website to participate in the survey pertaining to tonight's event, or ask additional questions, or view project plans and information. For those of you listening on the phone, the project website is again portal.ct.gov/DOT Granby 55-144. So with that, we are now going to start the live question and answer session. We will take as many questions as we can. Feel free to use that chat feature or call in by phone. The number is again 860-944-1111 or by email. The address is dotproject0055-0144@ct.gov. Again, the comment period is going to be open until September 24th. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have some questions posted, and let me start with the first question. The question is, where will the temporary parking lot be located again, and will it be able to handle all the vehicles? So can we please pull up Google Earth to show where the temporary parking lot will be? And can we please have someone from CHA answer the question?
Sure. So the plan right now is for the temporary parking lot to be at the intersection of Higley Road and Moosehorn Road. As you can see in the slide that Tracy has. So it is that area that we are initially envisioning that there'll be enough space that can be cleared for the vehicles to be parked during that weekend closure. Kirk, would you like to add anything to that?
Yes, I will. We have measured out approximately 360 feet of area that we can use for car parking, and that will also allow plenty of room for any emergency vehicles to pass through without any obstruction. So we will go in there, Public Works, we'll clean it up, we'll level it out, and you will have adequate space to park your vehicles. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Anand and Kirk. We have another question. The question is, I was wondering what color will the bridge rail be? And is the end block going to be color stained? Can we pull up the photo that we have for the end block, if possible? And can we please have CHA answer that question?
Sure, I'll take that one. This is Tracy from CHA. So in our initial discussions with the town, the bridge rail, they'd like the bridge rail to be like a black color like this. And then there are many different colors or patterns that can be used on the concrete end block to make it look like brick or cobblestone or other stones, and the town will ultimately decide, what they would like out there. I think in earlier discussions with Kirk, they were considering a cobblestone look.
Okay.
This is Kirk again. And the bridge that's shown in the slide right now is the bridge that is on Broad Hill Road. And the other example of the cobblestone is on Silver Street. So right now, as Stacy said, Tracy, sorry, this is still in design. This is still a tentative, but more than likely, this is what we'll be going forward with. Thanks.
2011, the water level was very near the I-beams. What type of storm was that? Was it a 50-year? CHA, would you like to make an educated guess as to what that storm probably was?
Yes, I will do my best. I know our hydraulic engineers looked at this, and the last big storm event that occurred at this site was the 55 year flood in 1955. And I don't think that was even a 100-year storm. So yeah, Irene was probably maybe around a 50 year or so. Again, we haven't had any major events since, and that's part of the reason why, you know, with this project, we have the opportunity to improve it so that, you know, as more severe storms start happening, the bridge will be able to handle bigger storm events.
And just to reiterate what Tracy had mentioned during her presentation, the existing bridge today does not safely pass a 50-year or a 100-year storm. And the proposed design will let both the 50 and the 100-year storm pass with an underclearance. So that's a big improvement that we are making with the bridge project.
Thank you, Anand and Tracy. We have another question. The question is, can you explain how emergency services are provided? CHA, can you start that question? And if the town would also like to weigh in on that as well, please.
Sure. So when we met early on, there were talks about parking vehicles definitely on the west side of the bridge. There was discussion about the fire department parking a tanker truck or a water truck and having it ready in case of an emergency during that 56-hour closure. And the police department was considering also, you know, having vehicles on that side as well to help. And as for ambulance services, they were discussing having you know, an ambulance possibly on the west side and having a stretcher or something that could go over the pedestrian bridge and carry people that need help over to the east side of the bridge.
And I would also like to weigh in as well that more than likely there will be another ambulance on the east side of the bridge to transport anybody who, in case, needs to go to the hospital. So right now it's still early in the coordination process. We did reach out to the EMS people, and further coordination is going to be obviously done as we progress closer and closer to final design completion. Kirk, would you like to add in anything on that question as well?
Reiterating a little bit, both Tracy and Preeti, we are working with, and please feel assured, with fire, police, and ambulance, and we will make sure that everybody is accommodated and there's no need to worry about any impact up there. We still have plans to further explore and go forward with, but we will be working on these throughout. Also, Public Works will be having a staff member or possibly two that will have an RTV, golf cart, or whatever that can assist with anything that's needed up there, or even if someone's needed to be shuttled to their car. So we will we'll all be working together to accomplish the same goal. Thanks.
Thank you, Kirk. And I think we have another question explicitly about explaining how the shuttle system will work. So can you please reiterate or emphasize what you just said again, Kirk?
Sure. Like I said, we'll have a staff member that's there with some piece of equipment, and including ATV, or we'll get a golf cart, whatever we need. And we'll provide you with a number should you need to be brought from your house for even normal situations to your vehicle. We'll take care of that. And also, if fire, police, or ambulance are needed up there, The tentative plan right now is to have a fire truck up there and possibly one of the ambulance vehicles and also a police cruiser. So if someone does need to respond to the area, it's just a matter of getting across the footbridge and then getting in the piece of equipment that they need. And we're also looking into ways to providing additional water up above in the event that there is a fire. That's good. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Kirk. Another question, is the federal funding confirmed? So I can answer that from the department's perspective. So as I had mentioned, this project is in the DMS program, where it will be 80% federal funds and 20% state funds for the design phase only. And the rights of way and the construction phases of the project will have 80% federal and 20% town funds. To answer that question from the federal funding standpoint, yes, it is confirmed. And Kirk, would you like to add on to that question as well?
Sure. And from the town side, we went to bond, I think it's it's over 2 years ago. And so we did estimates on this bridge, and right now the project is coming in below, or there's no concerns with the funding.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next question. Environmental impacts were mentioned. How exactly do you plan on maintaining the fish passage during this? Will this build impact the wildlife surrounding? CHA, would you like to answer that question, please?
Sure. I'll start with that one. So fortunately, because we're keeping the existing abutments, there's minimal work to those. We can maintain most of the water course, so the fish can continue to pass underneath the bridge while we're working from the top side, mostly in the approaches. Now, for the abutment extensions and wing walls, will be cofferdams or some kind of sheeting will be driven to contain all of that work, so that any debris or anything won't go into the water course and affect the fish. And we'll work with Connecticut Deep Fisheries to make sure that we follow their best management practices, one of which I believe there's a time of year restriction for unconfined in water work. So we'll make sure that, we're not doing that work so that in that time period that would impact the fish.
And this is Anand, and just to add to Tracy, relative to wildlife impact, we don't anticipate any significant impacts. We will be working with the department's Office of Environmental Planning. They go and flag if there are any concerns relative to wildlife. For example, there are some areas that have a turtle crossing or some other animal protection. So again, we will be working with department's OEP unit, and if there are any concerns, we will make sure that those protection guidelines are included in the contract specifications that the contractor will be adhering to.
Okay, thank you very much. We have another question. The question is, how long will construction take, and when is construction anticipated? CHA, will you please take that question?
Sure. Oh, do you want to take this on? Or?
Sure. Yeah. So we anticipate the construction to take place in 2022. We are envisioning this construction duration to be approximately 6 months. As Tracy explained in her presentation, there are three main stages for this construction. In stage 1, where we will be building the southerly abutment extensions and the wing walls, we anticipate that to be approximately 8 weeks or 2 months. So likely the months of April and May of 2022. Stage 2, where we will be building the northerly abutment extensions and wing walls and build the temporary pedestrian crossing. We envision that to be a 10-week construction. So that will basically cover June, July, and the first 2 weeks of August. So then when we get ready for stage 3, which is the actual 56-hour weekend closure, we envision that to happen either the second or the third week of August, just so that we can accomplish this before the school season starts. So the months April, May, June, July, August are primarily for the bridge construction. And then the month of September, we are envisioning that the contractor will need this just to do some miscellaneous approach roadway related work. So total duration is about 6 months is what we anticipate, April through September 2022.
Thank you, Anand. Okay, we have another question. It's actually more of a suggestion. We have a suggestion that weathering steel be used for the railing, as painting fails all the time. So in answer to that question, as far as I am aware, weathering steel has not been allowed for about 5 years on projects. And as well, I believe the town has a preference as to what they want to see on this project. And Kirk, would you please weigh in on your thoughts on that?
Sure, this is true. We want to have a model of, like I said earlier, the Broad Hill Road Bridge combined with the cobblestone of the Silver Street Bridge. And we still have 4 additional bridges to do in town, and we're going to do everything we can to keep that theme during this period. Thanks.
And if I may just add, Tracy had also mentioned this in her presentation. What we are planning to do is have a duplex coating. Essentially, the bridge rail system will be galvanized first and then powder coated. So both of these essentially improve dramatically the service life of the rail system. And obviously the paint is something that's important from an aesthetic preference, which the town gets to decide.
Thank you, Anand. That's a very, very good point. And I would like to point out that this is a town-owned bridge, and we are respecting their concern for the aesthetics on their bridge as well. Okay, I believe we have another question. So this is a phone question that was received. Question is, what are the timings of when the 56-hour closure will start and when it will end? CHA, would you please like to take that question?
Sure. So typically we start the closures after rush hour, or when most people are out. So, it could be at 9 o'clock on Friday, and then it would open up again by 4 a.m. on Monday morning. Again, we would like input from the residents in the town as to what would be most convenient. That's somewhat flexible, but those seem like the best hours to minimize the impacts.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tracy. We have another question. What will the pedestrian bridge look like? And can it not handle vehicles? So I believe we do have a photograph of what a possible pedestrian bridge could look like. I would just like to add that the temporary pedestrian bridge is a design build element, which means that it will be designed and constructed by the contractor. That's why we don't have plans, design plans shown. So this is one schematic, not schematic, a photo of what it could possibly look like that we had. CHA, would you like to add further to this question? And would you also please handle the second part as to why it cannot handle vehicles?
Sure. So as Preeti mentioned, this will be a contractor design build. So what we will make sure is that the contract documents have the guidelines or the requirements for the contractor to make sure that the pedestrian bridge meets certain criteria, both geometric criteria relative to what the width needs to be, what kind of loads it needs to handle, what should be the railing height, in order to meet safety requirements. So all that requirements from an engineering perspective will be contained in the contract specifications, which the contractor can then use either prefabricated vendors to come up with the pedestrian bridge crossing, which again is going to be just for a temporary use over the weekend. Relative to the second part of the question, the pedestrian bridge that we are calling for in this project, a 10-foot wide bridge, should actually be able to handle a 10-ton vehicle on an emergency basis. But we have purposely not calling this as a vehicular bridge, because I think Tracy also mentioned that in her presentation. If we were to designate this as a vehicular bridge and allow for passage of vehicles during the weekend closure, we have to geometrically design the approaches to get to this bridge. Actually, that's probably clear in one of those stage 3 presentations if we have that. And not only is the geometric constraint difficult, it's also the fact that we would need signals, because it would be an alternating one-way traffic. And all of this would add costs, environmental impacts, right-of-way impacts. And we felt like it was not necessary, especially based on the 56-hour weekend closure that we were envisioning. So that's why we have not, we're not calling for this to be a vehicular bridge.
Thank you, Anand. We have another question. Meaning the project is projected for 2022. When do you plan on sending reminder notifications to the local residents, and how will they be issued? So I can tell you that the town is planning on doing several meetings as we go closer to completing final design, and having several work plans with individuals, and I will let Kirk speak more on that issue, if you don't mind, Kirk.
No, we will be scheduling more meetings, and we will also be sending additional mailings to inform everybody to not keep anybody out of the loop. So feel assured as time goes on and we get closer to the actual bridge job that we will be getting back to you with further updates.
Thank you, Kirk. We have another question. Will the pedestrian bridge be removed at the end of the project? And the answer to that is yes, it will. We have another question. The Silver Street Bridge has chipped and peeled from the beginning. How will this be avoided on this project? Anand, can you please explain again the type of painting system that we will be using on this particular bridge?
Sure. So what we are going to call for in the contract plans is what's called a duplex coating, and essentially it's double the protection. The first protection comes from these rail elements, both the rails and the posts and all the connections that get galvanized, that get a galvanized coating. And on top of that, there is what's called a powder coated paint that gets applied. So it's that combination is what we hope will provide the necessary protection. Now, obviously, everything has a shelf life, and after several years, there might be some paint that might come out, but just like with everything else we do with a bridge-related item, things will need to be maintained to make sure that you get longer service life from all these elements.
This is James from the DOT as well. Just to add in about the chipping and the peeling of the paint, another option that the town can look into, or that we will look into, is possibly metallizing the bridge rail. So this gives you a protective coating similar to galvanizing, but also allows us to use a pigmentation for the top coat so that we can still color the rail, and that will not chip or fade or paint like painting over galvanizing might.
Thank you, James. So we have several other options available for this particular bridge to ensure that we will not have any kind of painting failure. Okay, let's see. I don't believe we have any more questions. We can just give it another minute to see if anyone else has anything. In the meantime, so while we're still waiting for a minute on the questions, I would just like to remind you again that this whole presentation, including the Q&A session, will be recorded and will be posted to YouTube following the event, and closed captioning, including non-English translation options, will also be made available at that time. This recording will also be made available within a few days on the list of the virtual public meetings on the link that is shown on the project webpage. If anyone missed it this evening or wants to go back and listen in on it again, or if you have any other further questions that you may have after this meeting is over, you do have till September 24th to contact us through email or even otherwise if you have any other additional questions after tonight. So, oh, I guess we have one more question. What will be the contractor's work operation hours during stage 1 and 2, and will there be any night work going on? CHA, would you like to please answer that question?
Yeah, sure. We think as far as stage 1 and 2 goes, the contractor's work hours will likely be normal work hours, which generally vary between 7 and 7:30 in the morning to 4:30 in the afternoon. We right now do not envision any night work for stages 1 and 2. And then relative to working on weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, generally contractor will need to request that from the town, and the town will need to approve that in case the contractor needs to work on some weekends if he desires to.
Thank you very much, Anand. And I don't see any more questions. So it looks like, oh, yep, no more questions. So it looks like I'm going to be wrapping it up. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the department and the town of Granby, I would like to thank you for taking the time to join us tonight and for your patience And we hope that you found the meeting and our presentation informative and that we were able to provide answers to your questions. All of us on the department's design team and the town of Granby are always available to answer any questions at any time, even outside of the comment period. We are also available to meet with you individually at the project site to answer any other additional questions that you may have if you so desire. Thank you once again, and have a wonderful evening.